Welcome to the Golden Com Podcast. Special guest with me today, Marovick. Mario, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I see you every now and then because you're my landlord.
I'm your landlord, and I occupy the space upstairs.
You do. So thank you for being one of the best landlords in the history of the world.
You're welcome.
For my audience, just so they get some perspective, the Sunset 17 studio, which is this studio, it's wedged in between two restaurants, a restaurant over here and a restaurant over here. Tell us a little bit about those two restaurants.
Yeah, so we have the Playa Mesa Mexican restaurant behind us, and we opened that up in 2018. And then we're in the office with your podcast and my office upstairs, and next door to that is the Wild Goose Tavern.
Wild Goose Tavern right here.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, we're going to talk about restaurants today, and we're going to talk about hard work, and we're going to learn a little bit about you, Mario. I've always wanted to do this podcast because I don't meet a lot of people who have pulled off the one name identity. Like like people say, "Oh, do you know Mario?" Like you're like Prince. Like Prince did Prince have a last name?
I'm not sure if it did, but he did become the artist formerly known as Prince.
Well, Mario, you in this town, which is Newport Beach, California, when people say Mario, they probably mean you. And that's cool to get a one-name identity. So,
and I think it helps. There's not many Marios in Newport Beach, so it probably helps a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. Well, I think you've done a great job, and we'll talk about what a great job you've done. Talk a little bit about the restaurant business and what you've built with the lounge group. But before we get there, I always like to start from the beginning. Where'd you grow up? Tell me about your mom and dad and a little bit about your family. And I know your parents were immigrants, so tell us about that.
Yeah, I grew up in the city of Orange. My mother and father came to America in the 1960s. They came from Croatia at that time, former Yugoslavia. They actually came over separately. They met in Cleveland, Ohio. They met there, got married, and I think it was January of 1970. My father visited some friends in Los Angeles. He came back to Cleveland, told my mom, I found the promised land. It's called Los Angeles, and they're barbecuing in January. So he literally, at that point, he was a cabinet maker, and he ran the Croatian Social Club bar in Cleveland, Ohio. He sold everything within a matter of 6 months and moved the whole family to Los Angeles.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, that's loaded. So I just want to spend a minute on this. So if they were in the 50s and 60s, and you said they're from Croatia, they're really from Yugoslavia. Is that right? Because tell me a little bit. Who was that guy, Tito? It's been a long time since 8th grade. Tell me about Tito.
Yeah, so Yugoslavia was formed after World War I. It was put together by communist governments. Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Serbia. So they all got formed together to be one country. And then my parents, when they left, it was a communist country, and my father left for political freedom and for opportunity to be entrepreneurial. He had the entrepreneurial spirit at a very young age. So he was, everyone's mandatory that you join the Army at the age of 18. So my father joined the Army, went AWOL. He walked from Slovenia to Italy 3 days through the hills. Then from there, he jumped a train, ended up in Paris, France, got arrested for being an illegal immigrant. Oh my gosh. Spent a few nights in jail there, got out, ended up in Germany. And then in Germany, he worked there for about 3-4 years. And one day he was walking by the U.S. Embassy. He literally walked in the front door, talked to them about immigrating to America, filled out the paperwork. And a Catholic charitable organization, they sponsored my father to come to America.
And then he's in Cleveland.
And then, he ended up in Cleveland, and he was asking himself, what the hell did I get myself into?
And then he meets your mom, who is also from Croatian.
Correct, yeah. My mother was brought over by her uncle. And so she was, in her late teens. She left Croatia when she was 17, and her uncle brought her to Cleveland, Ohio. And my father was friends with her uncle. They met, fell in love, got married, and ended up in Orange County, California.
That's amazing. Thank you, Mario. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
It was an interesting journey because my father, where he was born, was up in the hills of Croatia, where to this day, a lot of the properties don't have running water. No running water, no electricity, got their water from a well. He came from a very, very poor part of Croatia up in the hills. So, from where he started and where he ended up is a pretty magical journey.
So then you come into the picture, probably sometime in the 70s. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I was born in 72. My sister was born in 70. She was the only one that was born in Cleveland, Ohio. My brother was born in 71. I was born in 72. So
3 right away.
they had 3 in 3 years.
So you guys are tight, and then your parents get into the restaurant business.
Correct. Yeah. So they ended up in Los Angeles. My mother was a maid with 3 children. She would clean the office buildings in downtown Los Angeles at night. My father worked a union job for a cabinet shop, and he'd come home from work. My mother would go to work. She'd work all night. She'd come home from work. My dad would go to work, and they did 12-hour shifts with the kids. Did that for quite a few years, and then an opportunity to purchase a restaurant bar in Anaheim came up, and my father and his friend John at the time, they bought a place called the Wild Goose Tavern in Anaheim, California, and that's where we got the name for the Wild Goose in Costa Mesa. It was a tribute to my father's first business.
Okay. Now in Anaheim, your dad mustered up enough money with John
Yeah,
to buy an existing tavern called the Wild Goose Tavern,
correct.
and we're right next to the Wild Goose Tavern,
Yes,
and so that's a tribute to your dad, obviously.
correct. Yeah, the Wild Goose in Costa Mesa, we rebranded that in 2012.
Okay. And you grow up in a restaurant family, which I would imagine that sounds like a hardworking family. That's what that sounds like to me. So
Yeah.
if when you are running a restaurant, I would imagine the hours are long, and you probably logged a few hours back there. Is that right?
Well, my parents were very hands-on. My mother would cook in the kitchen. My dad ran the front of house. And when we were kids, there's no daycare. There's no extracurricular sports in the summertime. We would all go to work with my parents in the morning. We'd clean the restaurant bar together as a family. We would stock everything, and my mother would cook in the kitchen. And I'd literally hang out in the kitchen and hang out in the bar, all through summer because there's no school. And I'd be playing pool and hanging out with all the cowboys and the Wild Goose.
That's cool. So then,
Yeah.
So then did you go to college? Well, I know you did because I know you went to college. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about college experience.
Yeah, I grew up in the city of Orange, went to Villa Park High School, graduated high school, I went to Santa Barbara Community College for 2 years. I transferred to USC. I mastered in business entrepreneurship, and I actually wrote my senior business plan on opening up a restaurant bar.
Okay, cool.
So I always had the passion to do it. And then after undergrad, I worked for my dad doing construction, running the restaurants for a couple of years. We were doing heavy construction on light industrial buildings in the city of Corona. And I was working really long hours, 12-hour days in 105-degree weather inside of these industrial warehouses doing drywall and paint, like really tough work. And then I said, you know what, I think I want to go to, maybe check out grad school. So I got my MBA from USC, and I went to work in Silicon Valley for Silicon Valley Bank.
Silicon Valley Bank was the bank that had the bank run.
Yeah, they had the bank run. They made some bad decisions, and they really messed up the entire community regional banking industry for quite a while in like the entire country.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're no longer there.
They're no longer there. The T-bill went up, and they got caught in the middle, and everyone pulled their money out, and they collapsed. That was pretty freaky. Yeah.
It was a good bank.
You worked there at a school?
Yeah, I worked there for a couple of years. Right, so I got my MBA, went to work. I moved to the Bay Area, went to work there for a couple of years, and worked long days. Woke up in the morning, didn't see daylight because I went to work before the sun came up. I came home after the sun went down, and then that old saying rang true: "You don't know what you have until it's gone." I didn't realize how much I was going to miss the restaurant hospitality industry until I went to work in banking. Quit my job, moved back home, moved in with my parents, and which was not a very cool thing to do back in the day. Now it's kind of cool to live with your parents in your 20s, but then it wasn't. And I moved in with my parents, saved everything, and I opened up my first restaurant bar in the city of Orange called the District Lounge.
The District Lounge.
And then that was in 2004. And then in 2005, we opened up Landmark Steakhouse in Corona Del Mar.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
PCH right here in
Yep.
CD. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and I took my life savings and did that. Borrowed money on top of it. I between moving in with my parents and opening up the District Lounge, I bought a house. And then I bought a house and I remortgaged that. Pulled all the money out of it to open up those 2 restaurants. And if one thing would have gone wrong, I would have lost everything.
I've had a lot of entrepreneurs on this podcast that sit right here. And that sentence that you said seems to be a common theme.
Yeah.
And we were right there. If anything would have gone wrong, none of this would have happened. Like you're right on the edge of disaster.
Yep.
Right. You've mortgaged everything. You put everything you've got. You've got 2 restaurants, and you're just hanging by a thread.
I don't gamble, but I'll gamble on myself. And I've been, I won't say broke, but I've been at the verge of, very low liquidity quite a few times in my life. The next time was the 2008 recession. At that point, I had already owned the Stag Bar. I bought the building and the business. I got married in 2008. The economy was really good up until that point. Got married in 2008, bought another house in 2008, bought my partner out of Landmark Steakhouse partnership in 2008, and then the economy turned.
Yeah.
And I came back from my honeymoon. I go, honey, we got to be really careful with money. And my wife remembers she left the light on in the pantry when we came back from the honeymoon, and I asked her to turn the light off to save money.
The meter.
And she's like, oh, it's on a timer. It turns off in 5 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but you can turn it off now to save a penny. I mean, we really got to be careful. And then, yeah, we got hit pretty hard 2008, 2009, and we were resilient, and we bounced back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 05, you've got the district and you've got Landmark, so that's 2. That's in 05. 20 years later, next year will be 2025. You've got 16, right? Yeah,
Correct,
16
yeah.
properties.
Yeah,
so we got to go from 2 to 16 here in 5 minutes. Tell me about it. You've got 2 in 05. You have some success. 08, you're on top of the world. You're married. You're honeymooning. You're getting more stuff. Then, of course, the 08, 09 collapse.
Yep.
How'd you rebound, and what happened next?
So so we did District Lounge, Landmark, and then it was Stag Bar.
Okay.
And then we got married in 2008, came back from the honeymoon, and the economy was getting a little shaky, and my wife got pregnant. At this point, she's 5 months pregnant, and I had an opportunity to buy a business in downtown Fullerton in the middle of the financial crisis. And she was just panicked. Like, she's like, you're telling me money's tough. You want to open up another restaurant? I'm like, it's a great opportunity.
Turn off the light, but
Yeah,
you're going to
turn
buy a
off the light,
restaurant.
we'll buy a restaurant.
Yeah.
So I borrowed more money, and we bought what became the Matador Cantina in downtown Fullerton. And it was an interesting time because I remember coming home and watching the news, and the topics were, is Wells Fargo going to file bankruptcy? Is Bank of America still going to be around? Lehman just collapsed, right? So we're watching this economic fallout happening, globally. And then we opened up the Matador in 2000. We bought it in 2008. We opened it up in 2009. And it was a nice, successful growth for the last 15 years straight. Every year has been consistent growth for 15 years. And then in between that and the next one, then it was Malarky's Irish Pub. And
You bought Malarky's.
Well, we bought Malarky.
About when was that?
That was in 2010.
2010.
Give or take.
Okay. And that is that is an icon.
It's an icon.
It's an icon, Malarky's.
Big time. Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
And so how did you even know it was for sale? I mean, how do you buy Malarky's?
Well, we had a really good relationship with the business owners and the owner of the property. So we made some phone calls. We sat down, we talked about it, told them what our plans were for the future, and we all kind of sat down and agreed to, pass the baton. And the Hamilton family that owned it and actually started it in 1976, we were very thankful to Bill Hamilton Sr. for his legacy there. And he passed the baton, and we put the capital infusion into it that Malarky's needed. And at that time, a lot of deferred maintenance. We had to change out all the plumbing, upgrade the electrical, and so we had an agreement that we would do all this extra work, and the landlord would give us a nice long lease. And since then, I bought the real estate.
Okay. Oh, and then since then, now you asked the real estate too.
And also, Malarky's just got an approval about 3 months ago. It's gonna got approved for a large permanent outdoor patio. So we're hoping we're gonna break ground in September, and hopefully going to have it done by February. So it'll be
neat. You're expanding.
A big one, a 1,450 square foot indoor-outdoor patio.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to go back there.
Yeah. Got to come back anyway. It's still open.
It's still open. Yeah. All right. So we're only 6 into 16. What else? There's more.
Let's see.
Dory Deli.
Okay. So
Stag Bar. Yep.
So we got Stag. So we did the next one, I believe, was most likely Wild Goose.
Wild Goose.
Yeah, we took over the Wild Goose. The tenant vacated, and we rebranded. And then that was with my partner, Andrew Gabriel.
Yes.
So that was mine and Andrew's first partnership in the restaurant industry. And then since then, Andrew and I have Wild Goose, Playa Mesa, Country Club, Dory, Super Ponga, Muldoon's together. And also he's partners in the Mickey's and High Horse in Fullerton also. So we've built we're really good friends. We've formed a business partnership, and we do very well together.
Muldoon's is where?
Well, Muldoon's is another iconic Newport Beach
That's
brand.
over in Fashion Island, isn't
Fashion Island, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was our COVID buy.
Oh,
That was listed for sale through a LA broker, and he listed it in like an interesting way. He listed it with no price. He just said, the building's for sale with the business, you guys give me an offer. And at that time, nobody wanted to open up a restaurant because restaurants were literally deemed toxic by all the big lenders. At one point we were trying to get a loan, and my banker said restaurants are toxic now, so we don't loan to any buildings that have restaurants in them. I'm like, it's kind of a weird thing to say. So everyone that wanted to buy the building, the restaurant was vacant because the guy that ran the building and business was Ronald Schwartz, and he had the law firm on the second floor. He had Muldoon's on the ground floor. He operated the law firm, the restaurant, and owned the building. So he was selling the building with a empty office space on the second floor in 2020.
his law office vacated.
But offices were a very tough product to lease out at that time too.
Yes.
Right? Fashion Island was a ghost town. And so, the office space was vacant. The restaurant was not doing well because of COVID, and all the big players in town did not want to buy it. And I call it my COVID buy. So we went in there and we bought it. And now we have a permit for the second floor where the law firm was. We're opening up a private lounge, and it's going to be called The Firm because it used to be a law firm since 1974.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I look forward to that also. That's amazing. So thanks for all this. It's like a history channel of Newport and bars and pubs. The business of running restaurants, because this is a business podcast, I'm just inherently interested. For instance, how the registers and online ordering and the POS systems. So what is your POS system? And when you buy a restaurant, do you keep the POS system or do you put in your own system? Tell me a little bit just about the business of running a restaurant from a transaction standpoint.
We do both. Right now we use Toast.
Toast.
And we use that at all 16 concepts. We were really big on Aloha since inception. Back in the 90s and before, bars just didn't have POSs. They were almost like, I'd say 99% of them were cash registers with a little credit card terminal on the side, and they do the handwritten receipts. And I was in grad school at the time in 1998, and I said, I want to get a POS system for 2J's Bar in Fullerton. It's a bar that I inherited from my parents. It's a little dive bar. It's like kind of like the beach ball of Fullerton. And that was a big deal to have a POS in a little dive bar. And we put it in, and it was great, very efficient, and it was Aloha.
We put in Aloha. Yeah, they kind of were the de facto, weren't they?
And we loved them for so many years, but then the federal compliance with credit card chip readers changed about 6 years ago, and Aloha's technology just could not keep up with the software compliance requirements by the government. And so they struggled, and so unfortunately they kept telling us, they strung us along and said, if you upgrade your entire system, all the new Aloha equipment's going to work with all the new regulations. And we spent about $250,000 up. We upgraded the entire company, and it still failed. And then we ended up scrapping it. And we ultimately, after going through a couple of different software companies, we did beta testing at different locations, little one-offs, we ended up with Toast.
And now you've standardized on Toast.
And Toast is nimble.
They're kind of running the table.
They're doing a great job now.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Okay. What about, so when all this money comes in through the Toast, the POS at the local restaurant, because you have 16 of these restaurants, I would imagine that you have like a nucleus of people that support the 16. Like you certainly don't have 16 accountants, right? You probably have one. Yeah. So where does all the money come in and out from the mothership?
Okay, so every restaurant it runs as its own entity.
Okay.
Every restaurant is its own LLC. It's got its own corporate structure. Every manager puts all the deposits in the bank for that location, and then we have an operating company that's a different corporation, and it's called Lounge Group Incorporated. And Lounge Group does the accounting, marketing, HR, and payroll for all the locations. So what's really interesting is these little neighborhood restaurants and bars, which is what I was when I started, you don't have the opportunity to have in-house accounting or in-house marketing, more importantly, right? So your marketing is always kind of wonky. And we have a graphic design team, and so we have world-class marketing for these little neighborhood concepts, which you typically aren't able to get. Mm-hmm. So we have this bandwidth to be able to buy more locations, plug them into our Lounge Group network, and then support them on the marketing, finance, payroll, and HR side.
How about the software that runs the accounting? What is the ERP that you guys use? Is it Restaurant 365?
Yeah.
Is that what you're using?
Yeah, Restaurant 365 now. Started off with Quickbooks, kept trying to get out of it because of all the little workarounds, because it wasn't really designed for restaurants. So every time we use it, we have to do little workarounds around, like the platform is here and we need this, and we'd have to have little side accounts for our own bookkeeping. And then we tried different ERP programs, and they all had little bugs in them. And Restaurant 365 came around, and we love it. It works.
It works good.
Yeah, it works really good.
It's maybe the highest compliment you could give an ERP is that we love it.
Yeah.
Because nobody loves their ERP.
We actually enjoy it. Yeah, it actually works pretty good.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Mario, I can't thank you enough for giving us your insight on the lounge group,
Yep.
and the 16 companies, LLCs, restaurants, pubs you support. Real quick before we hang it up is what's next? You're not stopping, I can tell. I can just see the bug in your eye. What's 17 look like?
Right now we're going to pump the brakes. We're going to make what we have. We're going to continue to improve what we have. We're doing the patio expansion at Malarky's. We're doing the second-story lounge on top of Muldoon's, and we just want to sharpen our pencil a little bit and kind of just make what we have better. And we're very happy where we're at. If something special came up, we'd obviously consider it. But next is just
Two big expansion projects, it sounds
Two
like.
big expansion projects. But really next is wife and kids. My oldest daughter just turned 15 on Monday. My younger one is 12. The older one starts high school in the fall. It's I'm hoping to be able to just manage work and family and just spend more time with the family and kids.
All right. Well, fantastic. Mario, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate you spending time with me.
Thanks for having me.
I'll see you
Appreciate
upstairs. You got it.
Yep, thank you.
Bye-bye.